So, about a week or so ago, a politician became a star overnight and potentially started pushing the Democratic Party on a new path to regain popularity not only in New York City, but in the country as a whole, and that is 33-year-old Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani. And he is now the Democratic candidate for the mayor of New York City, and he beat out former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who we will show and get to in a second. Now, though, Mamdani will have to go against current mayor Eric Adams, who, if you do or do not know, he's been wrapped up in a little bit of some shady things. He's kind of gone on Trump's coattails to keep his political hype because, when people go against Trump, they lose their political hype, which we will be talking about on the stream. So go and follow my Twitch as well, GS Studios. But Mamdani is going to be going against Eric Adams and potentially Andrew Cuomo again, who is, again, that former governor of New York during COVID. He left the governor's race. We're getting into all that to a second, but Andrew basically was in the race for the Democratic primary. He dropped out when he saw that he was losing to Mamdani about a couple weeks ago, but he's looking like he's going to try to stay in the race and run again as an independent. And this race in November for the governor of New York is going to, or not governor, I'm sorry, for the mayor of New York, is going to have major implications on the state of the Democratic Party for the next couple of years, because if a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist wins and Zohran Mamdani, we'll get to that. That's what the point of this episode is for. My name is Garrett Sims, and this is Guaranteed News. If you haven't watched before, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at GS Studios. That's GSTEWDIOS. Like this video, comment down below. What do you think about this? Am I right? Am I wrong? Where am I kind of right? Where am I in the middle? I say it all the time, but you could be watching anything in the world and you're watching Guaranteed News, and I really do appreciate that. Now, let's get back into the episode. All right. So the first thing I want to do is look at the differences between Andrew Cuomo and Mamdani quickly. And let me get this. Let me see if I can get Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo. Right? I want to look at the differences between the two, because I want to see and I want to show how important it is that a 33-year-old, look how young he is, a 33-year-old Democratic socialist was not supposed to win this primary, but he ran the best race, the best campaign. He ran on a platform that was about grassroots and getting in and talking to people and being about the community of New York City, the many communities of New York City. He ran a race that was strictly for the people, foot on the street, and an actually smart social media use that wasn't corny or weird, but gave information while also seeming to be somewhat entertaining, and we'll talk about that more. So I really want to just use this difference between Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani to place how different Zohran is and how impressive his rise to the top has been. And I'll say, so far from what I've seen of Zohran Mamdani, I don't know if he can win. I don't know if all the things that he's trying to do, his policies, can't even happen in this country, let alone if he will do them. But he is the most well-spoken and all-around likable, believable, and uncringeworthy Democrat that I have seen in about the 2 years that I've been really actively keeping up with politics. And that is going for something in my head, because his policies are so far left, which if you watch any Guarantee News, you know that that's one of the major critiques I have of the Democratic Party. But the way that he spins it, the way that he does it, he is such an interesting candidate that I think he really should be talked about. So let's get to those differences, right? So the political ideology of Zohran Mamdani versus Andrew Cuomo, right? Zohran is a Democratic socialist and a far left progressive. Andrew Cuomo is a moderate Democrat, more in the middle, more kind of the Democrat that your parents or your parents probably grew up voting for, liking, listening to on CNN, right? Now their background. Zohran Mamdani is the son of an Indian filmmaker, and he's a former housing counselor and tenant organizer and a former rapper and current assemblyman before going on this new journey to try to become the mayor of New York. Now, there's a lot of mixed bag things in there. With the former housing counselor, tenant organizer, and being a assemblyman, that gets into his grassroots, wanting to be down with the people, wanting to really be involved in New York, and not coming about it from a bird's eye view, but right down in the streets, like being like a daredevil superhero versus being like an Avenger or something, right? Being like Iron Man. You're going to be down in with the people walking around. That's kind of how Zohran Mamdani ran, and that's what his background is. Now, also with the rapper part and being the son of a filmmaker, a lot of people don't take him seriously. There's videos of him like wearing like a apron and with a shirt off and rapping. Now, that doesn't work, I think, for most people, just seeing who the president is and where he came from. And even though he is a businessman, just knowing, being on TV and all of that, I think they're very fair to say we're so far from your history doing this, this, and this makes you unqualified to do anything in politics in America, right? Now let's get to Andrew Cuomo's background. He has grown up in politics. He's the son of former New York Governor Mario Cuomo. Keep in mind, Andrew Cuomo was the governor himself. He's a career politician with decades of experience, and his brother is Chris Cuomo, who, if you don't know, let's show him. I don't need to show Chris Cuomo. He's a very popular journalist and broadcaster that was on CNN. Actually, I think got fired from CNN because of his standing up for his brother for some things we'll get to, and now he's on News Nation, not to be confused with Newsmax, because Newsmax is insane. Now let's get to their political style. We've been saying it with Mamdani. I don't need to keep covering it. Grassroots, activist-driven, well-done social media that had a personality while being informative without being cringy. While Andrew Cuomo seemed to kind of hand in this Democratic primary, run on the fact that he's Andrew Cuomo, the fact that he was governor before, but the fact that he was running against a lot of people that were, until recently, pretty much nameless. Before this all started happening, if this isn't the first video, before all this started happening, you probably didn't know who Zohran Mamdani was in January, okay? So Andrew Cuomo kind of leaned on the fact that he used to be governor, and kind of mailed it in. And he's also was fighting against his history of sexual assault, which is why he was taken away, or why he stepped down as governor of New York. And we'll get to that more in a second, right? Now, or actually, no, we won't. Andrew Cuomo, let's just look it up right now, because I feel like it's, to put the context on why Andrew Cuomo left and why he kind of had an uphill battle, even though he might have thought it was easy, why he kind of had an uphill battle. Andrew Cuomo stepped down. Why did Andrew Cuomo step down? Right. Let's look at this. Andrew Cuomo resigned as a governor of New York on August 23rd of 2021 due to the fallout from multiple allegations of sexual harassment. So you can look into this a little bit more. But that's basically what happened. That's why he stepped down, and now he's trying to come back into the light 4 years later. And it looks like, from what we can see so far, people aren't having it. So we got the middle Democrat, that's establishment family, and we got the former rapper, son of a filmmaker that is getting his career in grassroots politics, going against each other. And we have the Democratic Socialist, who is 33, how young he is, coming out and winning, right? So those are the differences between the two. Mamdani represents a progressive, activist-driven socialist wing of the Democratic Party. And that socialist wing is now becoming maybe a major part of the party, in trying to create a complete rethinking of democratic priorities and maybe government priorities, right? And Cuomo is a symbol of establishment power in traditional party politics. Now, getting into this whole idea of like democratic socialism, Mamdani, quote, this is a quote, Mamdani defines it as a belief that every person should have what they need to live a dignified life. We have to extend the democracy of the ballot box to the rest of our lives. He advocates that essential needs like housing, healthcare, childcare, internet should be free and just a part of human life. And he plans on paying this by taxing millionaires and billionaires, the top 1% of New York. He plans on doing this by taxing them more, paying for all these things. And these things are just a part of why a lot of people don't like him, because it goes against the capitalist society that America is about. That capitalist society that says if you get what you work for and you get nothing for free. And what's even better, or worse depending on how you feel, if you work harder than everybody else, you'll have more than everybody else. And while I do like a lot of the things Mamdani says, and I do agree with a lot of things he says, I do say I will say I believe in capitalism, but I hate the way that capitalism is ran now, and that's an economic conversation that I'm not going to get to right now. But just going in deeper to what Mamdani is trying to do, and how he's a socialist, kind of how these ideas are so taboo in America, and how he's making them popular. He's trying to do rent freezes in New York, which is insane to think about if you look at buying apartments, or if you live in an apartment and see how shit changes year by year. He's trying to do free public transit. He's trying to do universal free childcare. He's trying to raise a $30 minimum wage. And again, he's trying to do all this by taxing the richest people. And a lot of people who are criticizing him, saying that all these things you're trying to do are not doable, impossible, and bullshit, and would drive a lot of people away from New York. And I don't think that they are crazy to feel that way, right? Now, he has a massive popularity that has started, and a lot of people love these ideas. And for the rest of this video, I just want to look at a few moments for an interview that he had on Sunday with, what is the interview? Like, not Good Morning America, but MSNBC's Morning Sunday show. I can't think of what it's called at the moment, but they do it every single Sunday. And in that interview, I think it's just a really good way of showing how great of a speaker he is, how great of a candidate is, why his policies might, when you read them on paper, might sound crazy, but when you hear him explain them and say them, you can see why people would vote for him, and you can see why people would believe in him. It shows how he approaches insults, how he talks about his policies, and how he is able to stand on his policies when he's pressed on them, and how he's able to stand on being pressed by bringing people together instead of splitting. And he's getting a lot of backlash, maybe rightfully so, due to his socialist beliefs. And him explaining them, I want to show it because he explains them so well that you can almost get behind it, but I'm not sure that they can work in our society and that they can even happen in our society as it is presently formed. That's just me being honest. But his explanation of why he feels the way he feels and why he's doing the things he's doing is amazing. Now, this is a 19-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I honestly think you should watch it. And what's the NBC? I'm going to look it up. Because I like it. NBC News Morning Sunday Show name. What is it called? Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, right? So he went on there on Sunday, had a really good interview. We're going to start with something he says around 8 minutes, right? And this is all to just get an idea of who this guy is, how well he speaks, and just how much of a... He's a great candidate. He's the best candidate. He's the best candidate, again, that I've seen from Democrats, and I think just these clips show it, but the whole interview 1,000% does. So this first one is just asking about language on his website, which is related to raising the tax for the richest people in New York City. And he stands on business here, and this is a good example of being well-spoken and sticking to facts, right? So let me just go to this.
Earn points and...
But... So we have an ad, so we're going to talk for a little bit. No, that was a quick ad. We're good. All right, we have another one. This is going to be a quick one, too, so we're good. Sorry about the ads. All right, skip.
Overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs. For folks is to shift the tax burden policy proposal that says your plan.
This vision would benefit all.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on, saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
And I understand you're saying we're simply describing the types of neighborhoods that would see these increase in taxes, and yet by invoking race, do you run the risk of potentially alienating key constituents?
I think I'm just naming things as they are. And ultimately, the thing that motivates me in this is to create a system of fairness. It is not to work backwards from a racial assessment of neighborhoods or our...
One thing with this, I like how Kristen Welker presses him throughout the interview, and you'll see this. She'll ask a question, he'll answer it, and then she'll re-press and say, but get back to the point. And a theme with this is he always brings everything back to, this is for the people of New York, for the majority of the people for New York, and I'm just saying... We're not even to say how, because right there, that specifically was good. I'm just saying what it is. I'm not making about this race. I'm just taking what it is and saying what it is, which a lot of times when people talk about racism, it just makes them feel bad, but it's just looking at statistics, looking at the numbers, and that's what he's saying. But one of the big things that I like about him, and you'll see with this, is he always brings it back to the people. He always says, every reason that I'm doing this is for the people of New York, and his answers are great. His answers are great. I just wanted to stop that there to say
or
that.
city. Rather, it's to ensure that we actually have an equal playing field. And right now, what we see with the property tax system is one that is overtaxing a number of New Yorkers and undertaxing others, and an inability of political will to resolve that.
So no plans to change that language on your website?
The focus here is to actually ensure a fair property tax system, and that the use of that language is just an assessment of the neighborhood.
All right. You are a self-described Democrat.
So, next clip, he goes right into it. This is going into, you're a self-described democratic socialist. How do you feel about billionaires? And this is an answer to it. And again, it gets to think about when you're watching this, get to that theme of he answers things differently than a lot of socialists or a lot of Democrats that are cringy would answer this questions, or a lot of just your Democratic friends, your liberal friends that are cringy would answer this question. He answers it differently, and it's always about bringing people together, always about the people, and not excluding anyone while excluding people. And again, goes to another episode of Guaranteed News. Even if you don't believe what he's saying as a politician, or even if you don't think he's able to do this, he says it in a way that's believable. He seems genuinely, even if it's not, which is the opposite of someone, like I said, with Gavin Newsom. Man, that could sound crazy just saying off the bat, but go on my YouTube, watch the Gavin Newsom video, what's going on in LA Part 4, and you'll see why I say that. But he is a good way. He gives a great answer to everything, but let's look at this answer for how he feels about billionaires as a socialist. Remember, socialists feel like everybody should get what they deserve. Well, no. Everybody should get what they need as a human to survive, while capitalism is based on you get what you work for, right? So that whole billionaire eat the rich conversation is touching on this.
Democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Well, let me ask you about what Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has had to say. He's had a lot to say.
A lot of the things I like were just one after another. She did like the first 9 minutes, 8 minutes. It was cool. It was what we talked about before, his policies, things like that. And then she started ramping up like the questions we want to hear about. Great answer about billionaires. We shouldn't have billionaires because we need to have wealth distributed equally throughout the country, and that just doesn't happen when you have billionaires. But I want to work with everyone in New York City, including billionaires. He doesn't, what I'm doing right now, it's not like he doesn't lose his train of thought. He doesn't stumble over his words. Smile. Look at the smile. Look at the talks with his hand. He is a great political speaker, and he has a clear idea of his, I'd say, bookmark or his anchor. And no matter what she's asking, whatever you ask, he's able to bring it back to that anchor. He's the real deal. Whether you like it or agree with it, whatever it is, like the same way I'm kind of thinking about Trump, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. Even when I say with Trump, love him or hate him, no one can do the shit talking, the marketing. He's not, and even when you see what he says with Trump, you get into this. This is leading me, and I'm leading myself, and this is how you go against Trump, I would say. This is one of the main ways you do it, in my opinion.
About your campaign, he called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you respond? Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed. And when we talk about my politics, I call myself a democratic socialist in many ways inspired by the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And as income inequality has declined nationwide, it has increased in New York City. And ultimately, what we need is a city where every single person can thrive.
All right.
Are you a communist that believes that the government should have control over everything and deserves and how much people make? And Donald Trump is saying this. I'm not even going to give credence to the insults. He's just saying that to take away from the fact of what I'm really running on my policies. And I'm running on the fact that we should have a fair distribution of wealth, and that I'm trying to give the people of New York the best deal they can get. I'm trying to give them affordable living. Doesn't even give the insults the time of day. And I'm sorry, I was thinking, so I was far from the mic. Doesn't even give the insults the time of day. I think this is a great answer. This goes into something else around 19 minutes. Watch this whole thing, because the next question she asked him is pretty good too. But we're gonna move on, right? This next one, she just shows him a really good alley-oop. He's Muslim, and he's been getting a lot of shit for that. You know that, I mean, if you know America, you know the whole thing with Muslims, you know how people feel about Muslims, you know the outlook that they get, right? And she throws him an alley-oop to basically just, again, go into wanting New York to be for all people and caring for all people. So I wanted to just show kind of how
you book your flight. First check kayak to search and compare flight.
She's asked him some questions going against what he could possibly doing. This is like the first alley-oop that she gave him that I've shown you, and I just want to show the alley-oop because he does what he's supposed to do with it.
First Muslim mayor of New York City. Along the way, throughout the course of this primary campaign, you have received death threats. You've received all sorts of attacks online. Congressman Andy Ogles called for you to be deported, for example, because you were born in Uganda. He also issued an Islamophobic epithet, which I am not going to repeat here. But what type of toll has this taken on you personally and on your family?
It's been difficult. It's been difficult to have to deal with the regular and repeated smears and slander upon my name and on the very basis of my faith. And I think what's so sad is that this is but a glimpse into what life is like for many Muslim New Yorkers and many New Yorkers of different faiths who are constantly being told that they don't belong in this city and in this country that they love. And ultimately, what continues to give me hope is that these moments are but small examples, something that goes against what so many New Yorkers actually feel. Because what we know is that this is a city for all of us. And what Tuesday night showed is that what New Yorkers want more than anything is a vision that binds us all together.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent.
And this one is getting in. This is going to be the last clip I play. This is getting into comments that he had revolving around Israel and Palestine, right? He is pro-Palestine. He is a believer of Palestinians' right to their own land and a right to live, really, from what I've seen, from what I've researched and heard about him, right? And in that, he spoke or didn't completely go against a term that is called, globalize the intifada. I apologize, I need to get that right, that's important. Globalize the intifada. So, globalize the intifada is a slogan used by some pro-Palestinian activists. Let's see, let me make this go over a little bit, right? Okay. Here we go. It makes that right. Yeah. Globalize the intifada. He said this, and it was a bunch of conversations on this guy does not like Israel. He's anti-Israel, and because he didn't completely go against this saying, globalize the intifada. And this is a slogan used by some pro-Palestinian activists to call for international support for the Palestinian resistance against Israeli occupation. The term intifada, meaning shaking off or uprising in Arabic, refers to Palestinian uprisings or resistance against Israel. The slogan suggests extending the actions of these uprisings beyond the Palestinian territories to a global movement, all of the world feeling like Palestine has their right to their land. However, the slogan is controversial, with many critics, particularly within the Jewish community, interpreting it as a call for violence and anti-Semitism. They associate it with the violence of past Palestinian uprisings and see it as a threat to Jewish communities and institutions worldwide. So some see it as a call for solidarity. Supporters of the slogan often view it as a call for international solidarity with the Palestinian cause and resistance against Israeli occupation of Palestine. And then there's the interpretation of an incitement of violence. Critics argue that the slogan promotes violence and hatred towards Israelis and Jews. So it can mean a lot of things. It's a mixed bag depending on how you want it to believe or what you think it is. But it seems like some people could really truly believe that it's just something that is saying that Palestinians have their right to their land. This gets into a conversation that's been going on in America that I've talked about on this show. When I talk about it, it doesn't get a lot of views, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about it. But that is the fact of what is the difference between being anti-Semitic and criticizing Israel and their occupation of Palestine. Or is it anti-Semitic to criticize Israel's occupation of Palestine? That's a conversation that goes on all the time. Is that a thing? Can you criticize Israel without being anti-Semitic? All those two things all together. And he touches on this, and he stands on business about a topic that right now no one stands up on, or no one gives an opinion on outside of just, we're not wanting any smoke of Israel. And he stands on business about it. And watch for yourself.
Recent weeks, you were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you
That's great political talk. That's why she's about to press him, because that's great political talk right now. Right.
Actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears, and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud.
This shows his ability to throw shit, to be like, all that positive, bringing people together, and then he throws Trump into it. Free speech in there. He's speaking very well, and he's basically saying, I'm not going to say that you can't say that and that I disagree with that. Even the language, I don't use language like that. That's somebody wrote that down, because he probably does. You know what I'm saying? But he's moving in and out of it brilliantly, in my opinion.
Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will be, one that protects Jewish New Yorkers and lives up to that commitment through the work that I do.
But quickly, for the people who care about the language and who feel really concerned by that phrase.
She is pressing him. She is, and this is impressive because he's standing on. So many politicians would probably just fold or figure out a way to go against it, but not be so clearly like standing on business about it. You have to respect that he's obviously a man of his morals. Clearly, seems like it. He's not gonna go. She's asked him 3 times. He's not going against it.
Why not just condemn it?
My concern is to start to walk down the line of language and making clear what language I believe is permissible or impermissible takes me into a place similar to that of the president, who is looking to do those very kinds of things, putting people in jail for writing an op-ed, putting them in jail for protesting. Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about. And what I will do is showcase my vision for the city through my words and my actions.
Let me ask.
And Donald Trump, and this is perfect that he mentioned that, Donald Trump with Harvard, Donald Trump with all colleges, Donald Trump even with Indiana University, the school I went to, the school I got my journalism degree from. He is using college campuses to take away and control them, control speech, say what you can and cannot say. And that is dangerous. That is something that no matter what you think, I've been covering it on this channel. I do not think it is right. I think that Harvard is good for fighting against Trump, and it needs to be done. And someone has to stand on business about these things, a politician. And it is very interesting and good to see him do this.
Ask you broadly, your surprise victory has some progressive Democrats saying, boy, you may have determined the model for the Democratic Party nationally in this moment. Do you think your campaign represents the playbook for how to win in the Trump era for Democrats?
I think it showcases a new approach to politics in our city, and it's for others to decide across our country.
Even that, all New York, not even going to talk about he's good. He's good. He's good. I truly believe he knows what he's doing, but he's doing it pretty perfectly and pretty believably. He's very good.
Ultimately, what we wanted to do from the very beginning of this race was change.
He won't speak about being president right now, but
change our political instinct from lecturing to listening. And after the presidential election, where we saw New York be the state in the nation with the largest swing towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points, and we saw that swing took place far from the caricatures of Trump voters, I went to those hearts of immigrant New York City that were the fulcrum of those swings, Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx, and I asked Democrats, who did you vote for and why? And I heard from them again and again, I voted for Donald Trump because I could afford things that are now out of my reach today. And ultimately, when I asked them what would it take to bring you back to the Democratic Party, they said a relentless focus on an economic agenda. And that's the campaign that we built.
He's for real. I'm telling you, he's for real. That relentless focus, like he said, on the people, on bringing everything back to fixing things for the people and making things affordable, it is what Donald Trump ran on, and he's showing a different version of it. And this is the first guy that has been able to do something that gives a feeling of a politician that's serious, but is also a politician for 2025. I mean, the same way that reason that Trump was able to go into Republicans and make it basically MAGA and no longer Republican. You can't just be a Republican, or you can't go against Trump in the Republican Party. It's his party. I say that all the time. It's now MAGA. Maybe there needs to be some difference for Democrats. The things and the policies he's proposing, it's hard to see them happening, but the way that he's proposing them, the way that he is explaining them, the way that he is campaigning is different, and it is fresh, and it does seem genuine. Zohran Mamdani, I do like him. I don't know, again, if he's going to be able to do everything that he says, but I won't be surprised if there's other Democrats that try to mimic this, and I won't be surprised if he wins mayor, if we continue to see him for years. Zohran Mamdani is a memorable name. For better or for worse, if you hate socialism, if you think he's crazy, you have to at least admit, the same way I think you do of Donald Trump, that he's someone to be taken seriously. Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to see him and Donald Trump sitting next to each other talking. Very interesting. But thank you for watching that. That was a little bit longer than my usual episodes, but I really do appreciate you guys watching. And please subscribe to my Twitch. I'll be live every day in July, except for Sundays, going live about 8, 9 p.m. Eastern. My Twitch is GS Studios with 2 S's. So the same as my YouTube, just GSTEWDIOSS. Thank you for watching. Be safe. Have a great rest of your day, night, whatever, at the time that you're watching this.